Alright, so you guys know where we're headed today? We are heading to the land of Tim Hortons and Canada Goose or geese, but we're going to Canada. Alright people, so today we're back with one of the most underrated universities in my opinion, and also one that has the largest paid co-op program in all of North America. We're looking at the University of Waterloo in Ontario. So it's episode number 6 of the Road to Success series, where we break down one university in each episode and kind of talk about the scholarships, financial aid, and the entire admission process for international students. So we've already had 5 top universities in the US, and this is the first Canadian university that we're going to talk about. Canada is one of the prime locations to study for international students right after the US, and honestly, I don't blame them. I mean, it's relatively cheaper to study in Canada, and the open work permits make everything post-graduation much easier. Now, one of the reasons I picked the University of Waterloo was because, one, I feel like whenever you talk about Canada, University of Toronto is like the only university people care about. And the other big reason is actually that it is a tech hub. Companies like Google, Shopify have their R&D centers there. So just imagine being surrounded in such a crowd and, being able to maybe intern there, co-op there, and just opportunities right when you step out of the university. Now, the wow factor about the University of Waterloo is that students get the opportunity to do co-ops that's actually built into their curriculum. Now, the best part is in these co-ops, students earn anywhere between $3,000 to $5,000 a month, and you can take out living expenses, you get the practical exposure, and the best part is your 4-year degree turns into a 5-year degree, and it all makes like the studying and the experience all a very cumulative process. So with this opportunity, the University of Waterloo is definitely attracting a lot of students, especially in the most recent years, and their acceptance rate has risen up to 53%. That means that if you're applying, there's more than half a chance that you're actually going to get accepted. Now, to increase your chances of acceptance, it's always good to have a GPA of anywhere above 3 out of 4, which is equivalent to 85% in any country that you're studying in for your high school. The University of Waterloo actually has outright possibilities on their website where you can see what your chances of admission would be if you had certain marks. Now, for example, if I were a student who wanted to get into the BME department, I had a 33% chance of getting in if my scores were above 95 in grade 12. Now, obviously, this isn't like a strict requirement. So even if your scores are below average or below what they've specified on the website, it shouldn't hold you back from applying, but it's cool to see how you actually relate to the rest of your competition. The tuition fee for the University of Waterloo can range anywhere between 40 to 65,000 Canadian dollars per year, and that is a huge amount. Alright, so now let's take a look at the financial aid that's offered by the University of Waterloo specifically for international students. Now, typically your financial aid or scholarship can range anywhere between $500 to $25,000 per year, and all of this is Canadian dollars, so keep that in mind. But typically these type of scholarships are given mostly on merit-based performance, which means that if you perform well in your classes, in your semesters, there's a good chance that you can appeal for these scholarships. Now, since these merit-based scholarships are mostly applicable after you come in to the university, study, and get your grades, there is a special scholarship called the University of Waterloo International Student Scholarship that is specifically for incoming first-year students, and this is entirely merit-based. There are a few departments like maths, computer science, and a couple others that I'll put up on the screen that require separate scholarship application forms. But for the others, as long as you're submitting your University of Waterloo application, they look at your high school grades, your overall profile, your essay, and based on that, they'll potentially give you a scholarship. Now, for graduate students, positions like research assistantships, teaching assistantships, and grants specifically for PhD students are also available. The minimum amount you can expect, as long as you keep your grades up, you're in good academics standing is around $25,000 per year. Since you guys are applying to Canada and not the US, you're not going to be using Common App this time. Ontario-specific universities like University of Waterloo, Toronto, Ottawa all have an application called the OUAC portal, which you'll use to kind of apply to all the Ontario-based colleges. Now, obviously, in addition to your personal information, you'll also have some degree-specific requirements, and the University of Waterloo actually has like a really cool search feature where you can add in what you actually want to study. You can select the degree and the program that you're applying for, as well as the country in which you're applying from. So for example, a student who's applying from India, it gives you a complete breakdown of the exact documents that you need. And let's say I was applying for the BME program from India, I would need my 12th mark sheet, and it even recognizes the Indian boards like the CBSE board. Now, since the OUAC portal is a very common portal, the supplemental questions for the University of Waterloo specifically are on a separate portal or a separate application form known as the AIF form, and you can fill this out by creating a Quest portal on the University of Waterloo's website. Now, as far as I looked into the requirements of creating this Quest portal, it's mandatory for all of the engineering departments, but let's say you're applying to like an arts degree or another degree that doesn't have supplemental information, you may not necessarily have to even submit this. Coming to the deadlines, fall applications are typically due on February 1st. So for the fall 2023 intake, your application due date would be Feb 1st, 2023. Now, the one thing you guys should keep in mind is that since you guys are submitting two separate forms, the OUAC and the AIF application forms, they should be submitted rather hand in hand. You can't expect the college to make their decision based on an incomplete application. So it's better to maybe at the most submit them a week apart, but make sure that you don't delay things too much so that the college has all of the information they need to make a decision. Now, coming to my graduate students, there are 3 types of graduate applications that the University of Waterloo offers, and honestly, I found all 3 of these pathways quite interesting. There is an accelerated master's program that is only available to undergrads studying at the University of Waterloo. And what this does is in your like 3rd year, you decide that you want to do your master's in the same university, and they directly transition you. So it potentially saves you 6 months to 1 year of your time, and you graduate with both a bachelor's and a master's degree. The second pathway is your traditional master's program, where you would apply as a regular graduate student, get in, 2-year master's, and get out with your degree. The last one is a direct PhD after your bachelor's. Very few universities offer this option, but basically what happens is in the first few years of your PhD, you do your curriculum. So in a way, it's like a PhD combined with a master's, but essentially you're getting your PhD right after your bachelor's without having to, spend 2 years of your master's degree. Coming to the requirements for graduate students, the first thing that I would suggest is that you guys find a potential supervisor. Now, this can be done by going through the different labs, research opportunities that are offered in the University of Waterloo. Identify a professor whose work you like and you can potentially see yourself as like a RA or a potential PhD candidate. All of the interview rounds can happen way before your application even has to be submitted. And once you do this, you can actually mention this like potential supervisor in your application itself. It provides you an additional boost that you've already contacted a lab and they have maybe accepted you. And other than that, things like a minimum GPA of 75% are required. You have your GRE scores, which may be waived in some departments. You'll need 2 letters of reference, your personal statement as well as your CV, and an application fee of $105. Now, both master's as well as PhD candidates can apply through the Grad Apply portal on the University of Waterloo directly, and you guys will be using the Quest portal to upload any documents that are necessary. Alright guys, so that's all that I had for this video. I know that it was a long video and a different process because frankly, the Canadian university process is a little bit different than applying to US universities. But if someone has Canada as their top preference for country that they're applying to, having the University of Waterloo as an option is a great add-on to your list of universities, apart from, University of Toronto and other familiar ones. The co-op program is great. They have some really cool scholarships, and just overall, I think it's a very wholesome university that admits a lot of international students every year. Let's get this video to 500 likes. We are, going strong on the everyday 7-day upload. The next university on our list is Yale University, which is another Ivy League in the US, and I have some really fun facts about that university lined up tomorrow. Like the video if you haven't already and subscribe to the channel. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye. Can we just do this now? ठीक है?
आके ऐसे करना ठंड लग रही है
ठीक है.
जैसे.
Alright guys, so do you know where we're headed today? Yes, okay.